Tell me if this sounds vaguely familiar. How many short films have I made this year? How many scripts have I written? What exciting new client or commercial have I landed? What amazing talent scheme have I been accepted onto? What was the biggest budget I worked with? How many achievements can I post about that validates my creativity and life choices? What external organization carries the grandiose, the authority, the prestige that signifies to the world, I am doing things, I'm moving forward, and I'm worth paying attention to? This video is for the creators out there who find themselves thinking, now that we're at the end of the year, was this year a complete failure? If you're new here, I'm Aram, lovely to meet you. If you're not new here, lovely to see you again. Now, over the last few weeks, I've had conversations with different friends in different creative fields and industries, and we've all come to the same conclusion, that we haven't made much progress. Or at least that's what we think every year of ourselves. It doesn't matter whether you are a creator or in some other industry. As the end of the year approaches, it's only natural to take stock and reflect on what you have achieved, what is the progress that you have made. There is this unhealthy tendency for creators to feel a sense of waste at the end of the year, as though we haven't achieved enough, we haven't utilized our time as best we can. Now, I myself, for the first time in a long time, had a year where I haven't made a single short film. I haven't written a new script, or not in an entire script anyway. I haven't raked in 100k or bought lots of shiny new pieces of equipment. I haven't landed some life-changing client or giant commercial opportunity. I haven't been selected or even applied for different talent schemes out there. As far as the normal review goes for myself at the end of the year, it's been a slow one, to put it mildly. I really didn't output anything that signifies I've made progress in my career this year. Now, I think this is a particularly dangerous frame of mind for creators for the simple fact that many of us, we align our work with our identity. And if we're not putting in the work, if we're not putting out the work, then what is our identity? Have we forgotten who we are? So recently, I found myself in the position of reflecting on this year and thinking, I have wasted this year. My life has been on pause. I have stalled in terms of my career, my creative achievements and goals. That was until I had two conversations that completely changed the way I feel about this. So to my partner and to Sam from the visuals team and to all the other creators out there who've helped me come to this conclusion, thank you. And for the rest of you, I'm about to share that wisdom that I feel I have now gained because of those conversations. Now, if you want to try what I'm about to walk you through yourself, then there is a free Notion template down at the bottom, which acts as a output-free end-of-year review for creators. To be a creator means to create, and that is a verb. It is a doing word. It requires action. It requires output, physical change and movement towards whatever it is we're trying to achieve. And therefore, if I'm not creating, that means I must not be a creator. That is the danger when we tie our identity to our creative work. But life isn't just about what we put out into the world, it's about what we borrow from the world. And I use the word borrow very purposefully because we do have to give back, we do have to create balance, we can't just take. But we have forgotten, many of us, to actually prioritize and accept and value the times where we aren't putting out, but we are taking in. If you were to think of yourself as a sponge, there's only so much you can wring that sponge out before there's nothing left to give. And actually, sometimes we have to let life wash over us so we can absorb all of that energy, all of that information and experience and inspiration, so we then can put out again. We are simply refueling to take on the next leg. So anyone who knows me or who has been subscribed to this channel for a while will know that I love learning. If I can expand my mind, then sign me up. And this year I have learned a bunch of stuff that hasn't necessarily reflected itself in terms of output. There's not a load of things that I've learned and then applied to instantly benefit from. but they all still count. And just to give some examples, this year I have learned some industry skills. I've learned how to use Unreal Engine, which is one of the futures of the industry. I haven't used it on any projects, but I have taken that time to learn it. I've had tennis lessons, which again, I might not be a pro tennis player, or I might not even have someone to play tennis with all that often, but I did enjoy learning how to play another sport as well as I can. Playing sport is one of the few ways I get into a flow state where the rest of the world just disappears. On top of that, I've learned how to fuel myself when going for a run on a vegan diet. And in fact, what I've learned about running is it expanded my whole persona into someone who embraces the endurance sport. And there's other random bits I've learned, like how to link a newsletter form onto a website or how to make peanut butter oat bars. And all of this input is something that I can value, this absorption of different elements of life that have brought me joy and have made me a better person, a more rounded person. And I guarantee if you sat there yourself, actually took the time to look back through your calendar, to talk to your friends and try and think about all the things you have learned this year, there would be a lot in there. And all of that input really is part of life. We aren't just here to put out into the world. We are here to experience it and what we can borrow from it. And I think one of the problems is that we look at output as value when actually input is just as valuable. But there is a second part to this, and that is how do we grow from these things that we learn? Personally, I would rather spend time with someone who is focusing on their own personal growth rather than someone who refuses to grow as a person but happens to make cool creative stuff. When you compare the two, it seems pretty obvious which one is more important, but we forget about it completely because we can't see it physically. For example, this year I grew in a few ways. I found that I have a new pain threshold I wasn't aware of when I did my 100k run in 2 days with a busted knee and a pretty stomach. That was a huge expansion of my confidence in myself, of my grit, to know that I can put myself into environments that uncomfortable and do pretty well getting through the other side. That can never be devalued as the experience that it was for me personally. I also grew in courage to be able to say no, to turn jobs away, and making this big switch is actually the reason that I have less output, and that was a conscious choice. So the input is what led to the reduction in output quite intentionally, but yet come the end of the year, it's easy to overlook that fact. But if you can bring them to the front of your mind, which is the whole purpose of taking time at the end of the year to actually reflect on you and your input rather than output, I think that's a really healthy way to start considering your time and your success. And the other thing that I experienced was actually becoming confident in my ability to self-reflect and grow as a person. Many people out there, I'm not naming names, but there are many of us who are reluctant to grow when we are pointed out that we perhaps could grow. We get defensive and argumentative and want to shut down. At the end of last year, a friend pointed out to me that I just don't attend film festivals enough. And whilst I had always put that down to anxiety, and I have had some kind of bad experiences at film festivals, he was right. It's something that I needed to address, something I needed to change and tackle head on. So this year I went to 5 film festivals, and actually I gained huge value, but also the confidence in knowing that I am prepared to grow and I am prepared to listen to others' feedback. I'm not saying that every opinion of you is going to be right and you have to listen to others, not at all. But sometimes, even if it's hard to hear, a friend who has your best interests at heart are going to tell you things that might seem difficult or confrontational, but the reality is it's there to help you grow. And I do also think there is an element of input we get from the world that comes from the places we visit and the things we see. And I say that because it's not just going somewhere exotic and opening our eyes to the world. Like, yeah, that's awesome when you can afford it or that's possible. But there are other ways. So when you find a new place near your home you haven't experienced before, and that gives you a sense of calm, that for me is input from the world. When you take the time to go for that walk that's 10 minutes away because you feel the need to look after yourself, or when you go and visit friends and family in far-flung places Because you are gaining energy from those moments. Even if you are expending energy to get there, you do absorb that energy back. So that's the first part of reevaluating how we evaluate our years as creators and freelancers and just people out there in general who feel a sense of waste at the end of the year. But the second part is possibly even more important for me, because this is something that I am guilty of forgetting, and that has massively helped when it's been pointed out to me. And that is to change your perspective of thinking of yourself as the hero and start thinking of yourself as the ally. We are the heroes of our own stories, our own life narrative. And because of that, we focus on our growth, our progression, our output. But we're not the heroes of anyone else's story on this entire planet, even if they love us dearly. We are the ally, they are their hero. And when we're the ally to that many people, yeah, we have to put some time and consideration into being that. And it might just be time that you stopped and looked at how good an ally you have been this year for different people in your life. One of the challenges I've faced this year is actually this flat that I live in. The ergonomics are awful, the location is not helpful. Just to take my camera equipment to the car requires about a half-hour process because I'm on third floor flat, I can't park nearby, and all the sloped ceilings and everything. It's just made content creation for myself here or going to film somewhere else a whole battle in itself. That led me to this place of feeling like my life has been on hold for the year and a half I've been here, which is a really horrible way to think and feel. And the other day I was talking about this, and my partner very sweetly pointed out that actually we moved here for her, and yes, it was a compromise on my part, but I did it to help her. And even if I haven't been able to hide some of that frustration that I felt being here, actually I have been doing the right thing by being here. We made this choice to support her in her career, and in a relationship you have compromise and you have support for each other. And you don't even have to be in a relationship to be a good ally. You might just be a good ally to another creator or to a friend, showing up when they need you. You might be an ally for community or cause, or you might be all of the above. You wouldn't get Frodo without Samwise Gamgee or Wallace without Gromit. That ally is a really important role to play. Without the ally, there's no progress for anyone. Too rarely do we actually tell the people around us how important an ally they have been for us. Frickin' tell them, and they may forget that they are playing that role, and therefore they may not be feeling good about themselves. They may be thinking, oh, I've not made much this year, I've not done this, I've not done that. And at this one time of the year, I think it's okay to pat yourself on the back and say, do you know what? I've actually been quite a supportive person for these people in my life, for these reasons, and I've done it this well. Why shouldn't that count? Just because you haven't maybe put out a new design or a new piece of photography or artwork or film, whatever it is, that doesn't mean you haven't been hugely instrumental in helping other people achieve their goals. Yeah, okay, maybe your name's not at the top of the billing, but that's not what it's about. It's about getting there together as a collaboration. Those things have really, really helped me understand actually that this year hasn't been a waste or a bad year for me, not by a long stretch. I have achieved amazing things in other ways. I have experienced awesome things, and you know, I've still progressed my career in 1,000 small ways that just because I haven't put out one big project, perhaps I just needed that aid station just to breathe again, and now I can refuel and push on the next year. So I think if you've been feeling this way at any point of the year, but especially this time, it will pay you dividends to sit there and think about it like this. And like I say, there is a Notion template for you to go through if you want just that kind of extra bit of help thinking about it. But don't forget that there are so many creators out there probably feeling the same way as you. That's not to say what you're feeling doesn't count. As my friend has always said to me, and something that I really value, is your feelings are valid. I think that's such a healthy viewpoint. I massively use that all the time to think, do you know what? Yes, maybe what I'm thinking is not rational, but what I'm feeling is there. So how can I change how I'm feeling by the actions I'm taking, by the way I'm thinking. So to sum it up, just because you are a creative person, that is not your identity. Your output does not define you. Your input is what creates you. We don't need to be the hero all the time. Sometimes we can just be an ally. So I hope this helps you reframe how you value success, how you think about success, and maybe, with any luck, you'll end this year feeling a little bit more positive. Feel free to share this video with anyone who might need to hear it, because I think there's many creators out there who do forget there are other ways to value success. So thanks for watching, and until next time, see you soon.